Hello and welcome to Interview with DJ Nocturna. And welcome on my show today. I have an artist who is the founder and multi-instrumentalist for electro industrial glam rock band, originally from South Africa. Now he lives in Canada. Is that right?
I'm
Um,
actually in the US right now, but I haven't yet settled on my final destination, I don't think.
uh, so we got Thomas Mark Anthony of Terminal. Welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
DJ. That's a pleasure.
Yeah, so when you first came on, I'm like, whoa, you said you greeted me with aloha. And I'm like, okay, great. A lot of some people don't do that. They don't know where I'm from and and then when you said how's it, I'm like, oh my God, that's what we say here. And you said that's a South African thing, which is interesting.
Yeah, I also thought of it as an Afrikanerism. But it makes my day to know that some things are more universal than we thought they were.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. I always thought how's it was like something that's slang that's created here. So people say, hey, how's it? They say with an accent. So yeah, that's really interesting. But thank you for joining me. And like I mentioned, I love your whole, when you first came on, I love that, your outfit. And the people would think, oh, this is a industrial music, it must be dark and that kind of stuff. And but I know your influence to glam rock it shines, which is I love glam rock as well. I love industrial music, I love electronic EBM, and the darker stuff, of course. There's a dark undertone right to everything in this
Mhm.
interview. And my all my the music that I love, has a dark side, of course. So yeah, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me. you
My
know
pleasure. And I do have plenty of black t-shirts too. So,
I know, here I am trying to dress up for you. I got the
it's,
skulls and
it's totally worth it. There's a balance.
yeah, yeah. Well, I know you released your latest album, which is called The New Republic.
The New Republic.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how you came about in music. I know you're the songwriter, and you've played several instruments. Like what do you what's your major instruments?
I would not say I'm a virtuoso at anything. The
Oh, that's
uh,
very humble.
well, no, it's true. I mean, a long time ago, I went to music school and I was surrounded by people who were great virtuoso instrumentalists and had all kinds of technical ability. Uh, I don't think you need a whole lot of talent to make music. I think music's for everybody. So I just kind of use what I've got. And what I've got is uh, an idea, is determination, and uh, the will to get my message across in some way. And so, I learned to do the different aspects of music creation well enough to do the things that I want to do. No one would say I'm a great singer or a great guitar player, or a great keyboard player, but I can fit all the pieces together to get my message across. And so, if I would say that I had any focus, it is the songwriting, not so much the playing or the virtuosity.
Yeah, I can totally see that in the songwriting. I love the lyrics of some of them. I was listening to the lyrics and how many guns would Jesus buy, for one. That's so catchy. I mean the whole song, actually, the sin or the sanctified, is really a very catchy beat.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and I love that because we talk the issues now with gun control and all that stuff. So, a lot of people, it makes you kind of think and wonder, right? How many guns would Jesus buy? You can't get it this way. Yeah.
It is always the loudest, most vocal people who claim to belong to a religion who are the most hypocritical about its teachings. The here in the U.S., the loudest people who claim to be the most Christian are the ones who love guns and executions. Um, the loudest Muslims tend to be these extremists who want to like put bombs on themselves and blow themselves up. And these things are completely antithetical to the teachings of Christianity and
Right,
Islam.
right. Yeah, I
The
can see.
louder someone is about how they belong to some religion, the more hypocritical they tend to be, it seems. So that was a fun song to write, and I have to shout out the Natalia Nakara, who did the gospel singing backup vocals on that.
Yeah.
And It's just fantastic. And I loved her work on that so much that there's a song later on the album called Dirty River that I wrote specifically with her voice in mind.
Yeah,
So
I was going to ask you about I can hear the backing vocals, and I can't just overlook it because it's beautiful.
yeah, she's really great. And that is the only other playing on the album, it's her vocals. I did everything else myself. So it was a special and unique thing to have her contribution on that.
So I know you were, was it born and raised in South Africa?
I mean, I started off there, but I've made many stops in my life's journey.
Yeah. So how long were you in South Africa before you left and moved to closer to us, I guess?
Well, I left when I was pretty young because it was just a horrible situation. I went back as an adult in '95, when we say after everything changed, and sort of became more connected to it as an adult. Once it became a place that was not horrific. Uh, and so my connections with the people and places I know in South Africa are all connections that were forged as an adult and later in life. And I care a lot about it. It's like most parts of Africa is going through a sort of perpetual state of agony, it seems. But to be African, I think, is to believe against all evidence that someday Africa will be the center of the universe again, like it was, 2,000 years ago.
What is the scene like? Was there an industrial a music scene over there? I mean, when you remember back in the, I don't know. I can't even imagine. I don't know.
If there is, I'm not aware of it. This is something that I just don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Oh, well. Yeah, I always wonder about that. I wonder how, some people they came from this place and this place, which is really like not the United States, right? So I don't really know what's unless they came from Europe, it's a different thing. But yeah, so I always wondered about that. And
Well, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Like I said, when I lived in Canada, there was definitely a scene there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I lived in the Ottawa area, but there are so many really great acts that came out of Vancouver and Toronto, and there was a good scene in Ottawa as well. And the bands like Images in Vogue and Skinny Puppy and so on would all come through Ottawa, and that was my formative musical era, I think. Uh, that those years in Canada when there was a thriving scene.
So your debut album, which was released in 2021, called Blacken The Skies, came out, right? And so is was that like what was that the beginning of music making for you? I mean, you must love music ever since back when you were young and all that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing instruments when I was 4, I'm told. Um, and you think I'd be better at some of them by now. But I had started making this type of music in general, um, you know, 15 or 20 years ago. And I made some music for myself. I was in a couple of bands. Uh, about 7 or 8 years ago, I took my first shot at Metropolis Records with a demo. And Dave Heckman, the late and sorely missed founder of Metropolis,
Yeah.
uh, was really nice enough to me, message back saying, this is not exactly what we want, but he gave me some really good advice. So your songs need to have more hooks to them. They need to be, more structured. They were kind of just sort of like, noisy beats and sounds and things. And I took his advice to heart. So I came back to him a few years later, and that time he signed me. So it was a long gestating. A part of it was, I mean, his advice was very helpful, but also part of it was I I I crystallized kind of what I wanted to say. I mean, I feel like, not to get too grim about it, but someday I will be gone. I don't have any children. I have my cats, of course, but my legacy is my music, and when I'm gone, it will be here, and it will say, I was here, and I had something to say about the world, and this was my commentary on the world. And so the first album is really very a lot of it is just sort of like excoriating the terrible people who do terrible things in the world. It's kind of the j'accuse, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I think it was a sort of a musical Hunter S. Thompson who just likes to excoriate things that were shoddy and crooked in whatever terms it could. And the progression to the second album is that I still do plenty of that, as you could tell. I still lay into terrible people in the world who mean us all harm, and whose greed threatens us all. But it's also sort of the next step to say, okay, so what are we going to do about these problems, and what are we going to do about these people? And that's the that's my growth as an artist, if you want to call it that.
Wow. Yeah, I know that Dave Heckman has been very, I mean, he's totally loved by so many musicians that came out of Metropolis, even people that are not in Metropolis Records, you know, musicians and artists, they just totally admire him. And I know he's good to every single person. I mean, he really loves people that's in the label, you know, all the people that he's working with. And I'm glad you had your endurance to keep, you know, even though there was a, you know, not really a rejection, but you know, you know, do this and do that, and here's some advice. You took it at heart, and you came back, and that's it really pays off. I mean,
Yeah,
that's very
it
admirable.
wasn't. I don't even think of it as a rejection. More like I think of it as like a guidance.
Right,
Uh,
right. I mean, that's
and
glad you look at it that way.
when you
Other people may not see it that way, you know, honestly. And that's how you kind of, you know, people that don't give up. I mean, that's how they think. Oh, I got to look at this way, because if you look at it the other way, and then you're just gonna say, well, forget this, you know, it's never gonna happen, that kind of stuff. But that's not how you did it, and that's really admirable.
well, thank you. You know, you look at it and you say, well, this is okay. Now I know what I have to do.
Yeah,
And this just to comment on Dave Heckman a little more. He what you said is true. He is admired by everybody, not just on his label, but on every label.
yeah,
And at once at the point at which Metropolis became the sort of apex, the top label for industrial electronic music, it never ceded that crown to anyone. Once it achieved that height, it never fell from it. And if you think about all the artists that he developed in Metropolis, the artists who he gave advice to, who he gave a break to, who he
yeah.
worked with, and then all the fans who bought all this music and listened to it, all these are, and we're talking about literally millions of people who he touched. And I don't think we can overstate his significance. I miss him a whole lot. I'm glad I got to know him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he really, I mean, he was a go-getter himself. You know, he started Digital Underground, what, in 1991. Metropolis label
That,
came out 3 years later or something like that.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
he has a lot of endurance. You know, people like that. You know, they just say, well, I'm gonna try something different because that's not gonna work for me. You know, that kind of thing. But it's all about working really hard and um, kind of like the Saturn in astrology. You know, the kind of the hard working um god of the you know, of that genre that just focus on things.
I
And
like that. I didn't think of it that way.
yeah, so you know, going back to the music, right? I One of the things I really love is your live performances. You know, I know you have this great unit or these group. I think it's a couple of people. I'm not sure they're more.
There's just two of them, and in fact, we were just rehearsing yesterday
Yeah.
with our current lineup, which is Dave, the keyboard player, and B, the drummer,
No, I
and me.
love that. I love how the drummer's standing up and everything, and it's just there's so much power in that live performance. Because I know
Well,
you write the lyrics, right? Y-
mhm.
I mean, you're pretty much one man person, right? In the
As a recording entity, yeah. But
yeah.
you know, I've tried to encourage the other band members to get involved in the recording process. I don't know if it's just like if I'm just difficult to work with or if it's just tedious, but they're like, no, that's okay. You can do that yourself.
No, I think it's great. So tell us about this new album, The New Republic. Was it released already, August 25th? Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So just
And
came out.
yeah, the single "The Sin of the Sanctified" came out about a week ahead of
Yeah, on Metropolis Records. If people want to check that out, it's in there. It's on there. And so tell us about that new album, The New Republic.
it. Yeah, so besides the sort of lyrical progression I had mentioned earlier, I thought about the people who write, people who produce music will tell you that they don't listen to the critics or they ignore the critics. And for the most part, the people who didn't like my music, that really is okay. It doesn't bother me. I mean, um, my parents insist they like listening to my music, and what that tells me is that I can't trust my parents. So if people don't like music, it's really okay. But one of the things I heard was that people they just wanted more of it. I mean, the songs were short, they were very rapid fire, and I took it as a challenge for myself to say, can I develop my ideas a little bit further?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I could, like the musically and lyrically, I could develop these things a little more and give them more space to breathe. So the songs are a little bit longer. The album in general is quite a bit longer. There are 13 tracks, including
13.
four,
Yep.
four instrumentals. Um, and the first time around, I think not everyone picked up on the glam rock influence on my music. People. I mean, there were a couple of reviewers who absolutely nailed it. Like one reviewer who said, "Terror Ride is basically T-Rex's Get It On, Bang a Gong turned upside down." And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's exactly what it is. I hadn't really thought of that myself. But I really love glam rock. I love all the chromatic guitar runs and all the choppy stuff and all the, lots and lots of internal rhyme that glam rock has. So I think this time I maybe deliberately put a little finer point on it. There's
Oh, I like that.
we've got a little more of a rock edge to it. And the other thing is I think I became more confident in my voice, so it's higher it's a little louder in the mix, and my lyrics are probably a little bit more intelligible, which serves to get my message across a little better. Uh,
Uh,
it's now I'm at the point where it's fun to see what people make of it. I don't really assign myself to a genre. Your fans will do that for you. Your fans will decide like what your music is and what it means to them. And so that's kind of the fun part, I think.
do you see your music evolving as you move forward? Somebody from their first album is completely different from their later albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I see that. I mean, there's some bands that stay the same almost all the time, but I see some albums, they're different, you know?
I mean, there's a balance between the first album was really well reviewed, and I'm really grateful for it. The response to it was uh, exceeded my hopes. Um, so there's a sense of it. You want to give people what they want, and at the sense you don't want to stagnate. So I think there's an important balance to be made. Say, how am I growing? What am I doing that's interesting and new that doesn't alienate my fans who people like to the first album? And Dave, the keyboardist for the live unit, is also the official band historian. So he will point out things like this album contains the first terminal song with no guitar on it at all, which is "Follow the Rain." The first song, which I played the piano, which is also "Follow the Rain." First song longer than 5 minutes. First song with a naughty word in it. That would be "Smart Weapons." So there's some firsts in there. The saying is that when you're an artist, you have your whole life to make your first album, and then for your second album, you have like 1 year. And
Right, right.
I had a little more time than that, thankfully. But some of these songs in the first album I had been working on for several years, and so for the second album, they were all things that had been written from 2021 onward, and that by definition uh, changes the sound and the production process because uh, I didn't have to get myself into a songwriting. Had already kind of gotten myself into a good pattern for working on things and taking my ideas and fleshing them out. I think we'll see how everyone feels about that.
Yeah. And I was mentioning I love what you're wearing right now. And I know part of that got glam rock kind of influence, but to tell us about your outfit. I mean, I'm all about fashion. I love fashion. I wore this for you, and then I guess you kind of wore that. I get, I know you said aloha. It's kind of like the aloha feeling because to me, aloha is always like, it's
Yeah,
like
without trying to be a tourist, like I want a Hawaiian reference, but without being a tourist in Hawaii. Um, yeah. Well, my background is I'm a designer and I design
Oh,
lots of stuff. So I design a lot of clothes, I design other things,
oh, I
but
didn't know that. That's awesome.
yeah. I
Yeah.
have a really great tailor I work with who makes a lot of my clothes for me, and uh, so we collaborate on stuff, and it's fun making stage wear. Like right now, I'm designing stuff for our upcoming
You know
shows.
what? I was gonna say how important it is. I mean, for me to perform for anything, if you're in the entertainment business, you really need to dress up. Honest to God. I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, that's why when you see a band out there and they're all dressed up in a costume or whatever, it doesn't have to be black or whatever it may be. It can be anything as long as it's like it reflects their image, right? And their persona, which
And
is
also it shows that they made an effort. Like
yeah,
you came out to see them, and they made an effort
yeah,
to. Yeah.
absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah. Anyway, I love your style. I love the outfit. I was just like, wow, I was surprised, because I'm here wearing all black and I should have
And
dressed
it's
a
working.
little bit more. What's that?
And it's working.
Oh yeah. So, I know this album is released on Metropolis Records. So Metropolis, I think it's metropolis-records.com. If you want to check out the album, it's released, and I'm sure you have something coming up, and I'm sure you're already writing stuff. And do you have anything in the future lined up, or you want to talk about?
Actually, the next two albums are both well underway. Uh, One of them is the next sort of conventional terminal album. The other one, I can't go into the details too much about this time. I'm not sure whether this one will come out third or fourth in the sequence, but the other one is uh, I'm working with some other artists to take these short instrumental bits that I have on my first two albums
Mhm.
to expand them into longer pieces, and uh, that will be kind of neat because you get to see different artists'
Mhm.
take on it. Take something that's 90 seconds long or 2 minutes long, and make something that's 4 minutes out of it. And my only rules are that they have to remain instrumental, and that they can't loop and fade because that's just not the terminal way. My songs just stop, and even if it's not resolved, if it just ends like abruptly, I mean that's the terminal way. So DJs are not thrilled about it, but
No,
I'm what.
we could play anyway. Yeah, yeah, totally. I was gonna ask you. My next question was if you weren't doing music right now, if what would you be doing if it wasn't for your musical career, right? But I think I kind of figured it out. It's probably design.
Yeah, I
I
do
don't know.
enjoy. I do enjoy designing. The A lot of things I design are things like interactive exhibitions at museums. Um, I have a my main focus as a designer is engaging people with the arts. I like to do
Mhm.
things that help someone discover an artist, learn more about them, that make people want to send their kids to art school or make them want to buy a music, concert ticket or whatever. That to me is fulfilling. So uh, when I'm not a rock star, that's my that's my
That's
other
great.
thing.
I like that. Well, this album, is also dedicated to Dave Heckman, right?
Mhm.
Which is wonderful. And so, um, so much to look forward to, and and your live shows, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if
we're gonna
people,
have we it's neat. One thing that we have that I didn't have in the old days, right, is like now I can go on Spotify and things and find exactly where my top countries are. So the top country for terminal actually is Sweden,
ah,
which I my theory is that I sound sort of like the guy from Covenant. Yeah, he's a baritone and he sings in a sort of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
profound, halting way. Um, but we'll need to meet our fans in the U.S. and in Europe as well, and that's what we're rehearsing right now.
Or Hawaii.
I should go to Hawaii, shouldn't I?
Well, you got the floral thing going on, so yeah, it might work. Yeah, yeah, you should come to Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the good
yeah, but
thing
you're
out
not
there.
that far. If you were in South Africa, I would say, oh man, that's far. Yeah.
Yeah, but if we're going to be in San Francisco or Tokyo or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and time, right? So
I would love to see your live shows because they are, I mean, if anybody's watching, check out the live shows because that's really a live show is really what I mean is great. I mean, you want to be different, right? You want to just be like it's powerful and then that's important, right? Because it makes
yeah,
you dance and it makes you want to do this and that.
I mean, I think our the word that has come up with in association with our live shows is confrontational, because uh, my my subject matter is serious. I'm talking about big, important problems in the world, and I think that part of my purpose on this earth is to. I mean, you can talk about important problems like journalists being murdered or apartheid still existing in this world or the destruction of the climate. Um, and there are people who are going to read newspapers, and there are people who are going to watch documentaries about these things, but there are also people who can be reached through music, or
Yeah.
like my music is about something. And people say it's political, but I mean, I don't think that the loss of air and water is political. It's like it's a core it's a core human, like a crime against humanity, that these resources are depleted. So uh, I am not a person in my own life who has a whole lot of anger, but I do like to express the weight of these issues through music. And live is fun because you don't have to be quite as controlled as you have to in the studio. And I hope I get my message across in a way that is memorable to people.
Yeah, well said. I know you do the technical thing. You do everything on your own, right? It's pretty technical. Excuse the noise out there. I'm trying to, when you were talking, I was lowering my volume so nobody can hear anything. I live up on the high floor, but the noise bounced. Out there. I live right in the city, right in Honolulu, so we get all the
Oh yeah.
stuff. So
No,
I,
it's just amazing that no cat has yet interrupted this interview.
you have cats.
Yeah, I mean, I say to everybody, but they're like sharks. They're circling and they're ferocious. So
Yeah, they want to be seen. They want to be noticed and not forgotten, right?
right, we're an animal band. There are two dogs and five cats in the terminal family. So everyone has their own little fuzzy ankle biters to deal with.
Yeah. So I know you write your own music and you do all the technical stuff. I mean, how do you think music will be like, with AI like kind of taking over in so many ways? With all the I mean, it's affecting everyone in every way, possible. Sa-
Hmm.
San Francisco has this I haven't been to San Francisco. I usually go there all the time, but I haven't been. But I read something that is going to start. I don't know if it's already started now, but cars with nobody driving it, and they pick you up and
Yeah,
you get on. Uh, yeah, it's
I've
just
been waiting for that my whole life. I'm afraid I might die before I actually get a completely self-driving car, but I'm looking forward to that because there's places I want to go, and I hate the whole thing going through the airport. Just get
yeah,
in the car and take a nap and show up, and you're there. That'd be great. But yeah, but to your point about how it affects music, um, in design work, I use AI to quickly generate concepts for things.
right,
It
right.
can, if I can tell it, draw me a picture of this and give it a lot of specific details, and it'll give me something that would have taken me hours to do in 30 seconds. It's close enough that I can adjust and get it there.
Hmm.
It has not yet come up with completely great ideas on its own. So I don't know if that's eventually going to happen. It's going to get to the point where generative AI generative things uh, are going to be at the point where someone will want to view or to look at it or listen to it without human intervention. Um, so I see it as entirely as a useful tool. Um, I have a plugin on my music software that lets me take samples and generate infinite variations of it. So I give it one of my classically metallic percussive noises, and I'll hit the randomizer button, and it will give me a whole bunch of different takes on it. And they're not all musical, but there might be a gem in there that is something that I would have taken me a while to think of and craft on my own. So AI so far is kind of like our buddy. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like having an assistant who's not real bright and not real creative, doesn't really always follow directions, but is eager and fast.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. You know, I read somewhere that people that don't embrace AI, the technology, would just like businesses would just fall out on the face of the earth. I mean, they just, I mean, it's coming in so rapidly that if you're not a part of the technology, it's just you're gonna be displaced. You know, I mean, pretty much.
It's very easy to, yeah, and in some industries more than others. One of my actual concerns about AI is not the AI itself; it's the fact that humans don't like to be responsible for
Mhm.
making tough
Yeah.
decisions,
Right.
and AI sometimes gives them an out. You know, like right now we're all at the point where people are using AI, teachers using AI to analyze students' work and decide that it was created by an AI or not their work, and that may that may get someone booted out of school.
Mm-hmm.
Someone might not get a degree, and that's a life changing thing.
Yeah.
Um, AI is being used to analyze job applicants and it's looking for their keywords and to
Mhm.
see if how
Yeah.
they use them. And so people are actually being given, are hired and fired based on AI analysis of what they've produced.
I know that's hard. I mean, yeah, I totally.
Yeah,
I,
that's tough because that affects people's lives in a big way. You know, you don't want to lose your job in this economy. My song "Smart Weapons" is about this specifically. They have, the military has all this high tech satellite imagery, and AI will look at it and analyze and say, okay, yeah, it's doing a combination of drone photography and satellite imagery of areas, saying, okay, we're 98% sure that is a terrorist munitions base, and that this guy over here we've been tracking is this particular bad guy. And some, psychopath uh, on the other side of the world looks at all this stuff and goes, "Yep, well, I guess that's what the AI says." So, let's push the button and fire the Hellfire missile and blow that up. And that's
yeah.
part of that's a real danger. It's like the person is given high confidence by the AI, and they use that to exempt themselves from making a difficult moral decision or taking responsibility for something.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think AI will make a lot of people complacent, and you know how
Mhm.
it is right now with TikTok, you have that short attention span with some
Yeah,
I mean that's people are that way. I mean they can't wait anymore. They're always on their phone. It just is it becomes habitual, right? So
it
yeah.
changes our
Well,
psychology as a species, right?
yeah, I would still like to use my brain to do things rather than just depend on the machine and doing this. So I hope people will not be lured into doing that. I mean, it's great for that you do it quickly and everything, but to be able to use your functions a way that to still write rather than do short. You know how people text now, they just do shortcuts and all kinds of things. They put how to spell. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a problem. I mean, for me, and the books are going away, the papers and
literacy is falling away as an aspect of our society that we value, and that is a real
yeah,
problem.
I know very much so. I'm hoping that it is something our world will just continue on with. I love the past. I love the way that things were, and anyway, that's a
Well,
whole nother topic. But
I'll say there's some hope in that these things tend to be cyclical in nature. We over a long period of time in music, uh, we were determined to, and this is when I was in music school. I was in a music production and engineering program. We were determined to make our recordings more and more accurate and more true over time. And first we had tape, then we started using noise reduction like Dolby and DVX. And then we went to digital, and then finally we had compact discs. And at some point, someone said, actually, I liked the way it sounded back when we had vinyl going through a tube amplifier. And, so the pendulum started to swing the other way. And, I mean, I can see that. Personally, I'm all digital, like all the instruments on the album, except for my guitars and my vocal, existed only in the computer. All the synthesizer and everything, all the sampling, it's all done inside the computer. Um, there are people who are who got to that point and decided, no, I really want like a Moog with knobs I can twiddle, and I'll accept the noise and hiss that comes out of it because it's an organic thing. Um, and I see the thing about, I appreciate the thing about vinyl. Like I'm still like, I'm team digital, you know. I want my, you know, I'm a little picky. I generate these sounds. I want it to come out exactly the way I put it in.
Hmm.
But you know, vinyl and a tube amp color the sound. They don't give you exactly what you put in, but they color the sound in a way that our ears like, you know. Um, and who's to say that is not a better way to listen to the music, you know? It's uh, every every way that we play music back, whether it's in our little earbuds, which have crappy bass response, or if it's in the room, it might have dead spots. You know, there is no perfect reproduction of music. You might as well uh, play it in a way that sounds pleasing to you. And so I think that's the kind of the nature with AI as well. We get to the point where we want to automate more and more and more stuff, and then the backlash starts happening. People say, you know what? I really want a human generated thing. I want a human drawn thing. And I know it's not as good, but I want a human drawn thing, and I want a human analysis on this, even though it might not be as accurate. So that's my hope anyway, that this is not a one-way trip.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I mean, I see so many things now in social media, you know, like these, you could tell they're AI generated, people talking, saying all these things about life, and it's like,
Right, right,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just progressively getting more and more. I start seeing in everything, you know, things I come across, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm like, okay, so,
So
yeah, but
here's my
wow,
question to you as a DJ. I mean, there are tools that are useful, like you know, technological tools that are useful, like for lining up beats and things like that. Um, and there are technological tools that are not useful, like like music recommendations. If you like this, then you might like this, right? This is a hit thing that as a DJ, you can probably put no value in because you are going to make those decisions, and that's why you are, you know, what you are.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
is there a place in what you're doing for AI to be useful to you?
So right now, I mean, in every equipment that I have, they upgrade and they put AI. Somehow AI is involved. It's getting more and more prominent in the features of the, you know, the upgrades, right? And
Mhm.
you know, digital. I mean, you know, controllers and all that stuff we use is always improving all the time. We always get, now we have this controller, and I just got my own because it's portable. It's a really portable controller, and it has built-in speakers. It's battery generated, right? So you can take it to the beach, you can take it to the park, you can take it to to a barbecue, to the pool. You don't have to plug it in. You just charge up the battery, and it's a built-in computer speakers. And of course, you can bring your own speaker. You can bring a battery speaker, powered speaker, and just put it somewhere. I mean, you got everything there, and it's you don't have to bring a laptop. You just bring you know, your flash drive or your hard drive, plug it in, and you're ready to go. So you know, computer is just, you know, we don't have to use computers, we don't have to use CDs, and you know, of course, vinyl is one of a kind. I mean, vinyl is special, right? Vinyl is just vinyl, but it's just great. Everything's improving so fast. There's just so many things. Yeah, you have to be really keen. You have to be really knowledgeable and really ahead of your time with computers, computer knowledge and everything in order to get to move quickly, or you'll be really left behind.
But at the same time, like there are things like, for instance, talking specifically about AI applicability to what you do or what I do. Um, we are nowhere near the point where if you have a track playing, an AI will be able to read the room, see how people are responding to it, and decide what to play
Oh
next
yeah, no,
based
no,
on
yeah, yeah. Oh my God, nobody's
that.
gonna tell me what to play.
That may never happen. AI may
No.
never be, it may never even be useful that way
Yeah,
unless
yeah,
it's, you know, starts like doing like facial recognition and checking the temperatures of everyone's body temperature in the room. And, you know, I mean, it's like, it's
yeah.
ridiculous.
I mean, you know, a lot of people come up to the DJ booth and go, "Can you play this? Can you play that?" Like, a lot of DJs don't like that, really, honestly, because it throws you off. You know, it throws off the everything. It's like if you don't even want to play that, or you don't want to hear that, or it doesn't go
Right.
with
You have
what.
a playing with with a crescendo, right? You have highs and lows and peaks and
Yeah,
valleys.
yeah. But people don't get that. They'll come and go, can you play this? And I go, you can't dance to this song. You know, the dance part would just make you die. You know, it's so hard to tailor to somebody without being really, I mean, you gotta it's just hard. It's better to have a DJ booth somewhere else so they can't reach you. So I always want to go, can you put a DJ booth in the sky somewhere in the ceiling so that um
Right.
yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview. Um it's an honor to have you in the show, and you know, we're looking forward to the, you know, to this to more music that you have at Terminal, the next coming album, which I'm sure is coming soon.
Has to have a contract.
Yeah.
But and I appreciate it, and I'm interested to see what you and your fellow DJs make of it. You know, like what genres you feel it slides into, and subgenres, and where it will find its fan base. That's interesting to me too, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for
My
joining.
pleasure.
So
Thank you.
if people want to find out about your music, metropolis-records.com, anything else? Let me.
Yeah, you can also go to terminalnoise.com, which is our website, has links to
Okay.
all the streaming and our social media sites, and direct links to buy all the music and pictures and video and everything else.
Okay, and I'll be sure to put the link as well on the interview bottom section of the on my YouTube channel.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Nocturnal.
and if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. And it will also be on my on spot the audio interview on Spotify and other various streaming platforms. Okay, let me just before we go, what is your sun sign? I'm just curious.
Pisces.
Oh, okay, wow, okay. So you got that deep thing going on. I see that. Okay. Pisces is a very deep sign, very spiritual, very deep. I can see the Pisces now. You probably have
Excellent.
yeah. Okay, one moment. Thank you. Okay, 1 second.